Here is a late 1980s Lasko box VN. This was the cheapest of the cheap available at the time. There was multiple shortcuts taken on these VNs. One of the less commonly talked about ones was the front and rear guards being identical, which leads a mysterious scoop out of the front that is for the cord to pass through, as seen here in the back. Of course, the cabinet is too small, so it tends to tip over. So it came with these feet. These are very, very rare. In fact, the presence of this foot was the only reason why I paid $8 for this, because these are almost impossible to find, and it's not even broken. I suspect this was owned by somebody who was mechanically inclined to some degree, although perhaps not very well, because I don't know what the reasoning for this is, but there is obviously some kind of home repair done right there with newspaper and a wire tie. I'm hoping that that's not a connection and a cord, but I don't know. We'll have to check it. The blade and the guards have definitely been cleaned over the years compared to the dust that's present elsewhere in the VN. The handle is still present, which means somebody took at least halfway decent care of it. This is definitely a high hours unit. There's a lot of dust in there. And then of course there's the infamous plastic motor, which seems to take a lot of grief, and I really don't understand why, because there's nothing wrong with the plastic motor. It works just fine. These fans are 30 plus years old, going on 40 years old, and the motors are not a common failure. The failure is unfortunately the blades. The blades are starting to warp. This one is no exception. It's very warped on this one, and I don't know how to fix that. Some people allege there's ways to fix it, and I've asked some of those people to show a video so that the rest of us can fix the blades as well, and there never becomes a video. I've tried multiple ways myself and never had good results, so I've just stopped because I'm ruining more blades than I'm fixing. So somebody please make a video of how to fix these blades, because I don't understand it, and I would like to, because I have several of these fans that need the blades to be fixed, and I don't know how to do it. And if a comment comes into this box and says, just bend the back, I'm going to chuck my computer out the window, because you can't just bend the back. It's not metal, it's plastic. It doesn't take a bend like metal does. Anyways, it's a 3-speed model. And it's actually overall in pretty good condition. The paint's not bad, still got some luster to it. This needs to be cleaned up, but it should be okay. Still turns nice and smooth. So not a bad example. Take a look at the informations on the bottom. The informations, it's type 1 E20739, whatever that is. I don't know what that means. 2.2 amps, and the date code is 1988 to 1989. And I don't know what the model number is on this. I'm sure Tori can tell me. He's good at all the model numbers. This was donated to the Goodwill, or I guess it was put out for sale on 10/9, and today is 10/14. So it's been sitting there for a couple days. Alright, let's plug this thing in. I'm only getting 119.1 the volts today. No idea why, nothing's running other than the pellet stove and a couple of ceiling fans. These plastic motors, historically, from my experience, have some of the best startup sounds. So let's take a listen. It does have a pretty good startup sounds. Power information, we have 1.05 amps, 83 the watts with a power factor of 0.66. And the blade balance is actually surprisingly good considering how warped it is. It's almost perfect. And the airflow, despite the warpage, is still there. It's not anywhere near as much as it should be. It's definitely lacking power quite a bit because of all the warpage, but it does still move air. It feels like there's plenty of air coming out right up front, but it's not traveling. Okay, now we'll ramp up to the medium. That took us to 1.3 amps, 107 the watts with a power factor of 0.69. Feels slightly out of balance now, but still nothing crazy. Depending on how this sits on the table, the motor's vibration amplifies differently. Unfortunately, the airflow is really reduced because of the blade warpage. I really would like to know how to fix these blades. I have several models with the D blade that I'd like to use, including, and perhaps most highly, the Lasko Ultra Force model. But there's no point in running them like this. They just make more noise than anything else. And I'm sure the motor's going to be running pretty hot because it's not getting the airflow it's supposed to have. So somebody tell me how to fix this. Tell everybody how to fix this. And show a video of it. Okay, now we'll ramp up to the high. Because of the warpage, it's not ready to tip over. That is 1.85 amps, which is quite a bit below what it's rated for, probably because the blade is not catching as much air as it should. 150 watts with a power factor of 0.69. It's shaking around a bit, but it's still not that bad. And there you have it, still working. These were a great example of how to make a cheap product without making disposable junk. That's not going to work right. These were cheap. There was corners cut all over the place. I mean, look at the cabinet even. They rounded the corners at the top, but not at the bottom. Is corners cut everywhere. But the product was still satisfactory. And it still works 30 something years later. And the motor seems to be running fine. A lot of times those metal Marco motors from the 90s and I think 2001 maybe was the last year, the late 90s, the medium always tends to go on those and high only remains strong. This motor seems to be fine on all 3 speeds. I would actually go as far as to say that I think these motors were better than those metal Marco motors, but that's just my 2 cents. So, late 1980s Lasko box fan. Cheap at the time, but still landslides better than what we have today. Somebody show how to fix these blades if there is a known method that works, because I would really like to fix this.